Hello everybody, sorry for being quiet on the channel for the last 2 days, but I was very tired because I had a night with not very much sleep, and yesterday I was very busy work-wise and in my voluntary work. But I'm back and I have something to talk about. I want to answer some Insta Knit Night questions with you. Oh, I didn't look up the yesterday's prompt, so maybe I should do that later on. And I have to talk about some projects I'm knitting and a new purchase I can recommend. So let's start. Are you a trend knitter? No, I am not. I don't know why. Maybe I feel like most of the trends in knitting, in fashion, in music, I simply don't enjoy or don't like. I don't want to say that I'm old-fashioned, but I would say is puristic the right word? So yeah, I am very happy with timeless designs, for example. So there is no need for me to watch out for new designs, new colors, or what is in this season. I really don't care about that. And most of the trends I really don't like. For example, most of the Stephen West patterns aren't so much my interest. Or then there was this trend to knit cropped pullovers with short sleeves, but with Norwegian design. So a colorwork yoke. I really don't get that because I can't wear that in the summer and I can't wear that in the winter. So yeah, most of the trends I'm really not interested in, and I don't like to spend the time to go on the hunt for trends. So there are several reasons. I'm not interested in trends because most of the trends I don't enjoy, and my taste is very boring and timeless. I like unicolored garments, I like simple designs like a stockinette pullover with a lace detail on the yoke, or a braid along the sleeve, but nothing else, for example. So no, I am not a trend knitter. Do you knit specific things in summer? No. I tried it this year. I thought I felt inspired by Amy from Noble Character Crafts and by the Crazy Sock Lady. Both are or were knitting dishcloth, and so I tried it. I didn't want to knit dishcloth, but hand towels, small ones, or tea towels. Yeah, I did it, but just because I felt inspired, not because I can't knit wool during the summer. I think I don't want to knit on a big blanket that is laying on my lap during summer, for example, but otherwise, I mean, I have knit my Christmas socks during the summer holidays, so no specific things during summer. I can remember that I was in Croatia. By the way, I love Croatia and I want to visit it as soon as I can again. I love it. And I was sitting on the stone beach looking at the sea. It was in the hottest summer and I was knitting a scarf, a very woolly long scarf. And a Croatian, is Croatian the adjective? A man from Croatia was passing by, smiling at me, and we started to talk, and he said like, oh, you're a good wife, you will be a good wife because you are knitting for your husband or for your boyfriend. Yeah, I can knit on the beach too. How much time knitting a day in average? And that is so difficult. That is so difficult. When I was writing my thesis, so I was staying at home with a scholarship, several hours, because I could use the time I didn't spend in the car driving to school, for example. When I was a teacher, it was a little less. Now I'm working from home. That means I have more time in the mornings and more time in the afternoon because I don't have to commit. Is that the right word? No, commute. Sorry, I don't have to commute. I'm home, so I don't waste time in the car or on public transportation. In average, there is no average because sometimes I have so much knitting mojo. For example, now I'm knitting pretty much every day, and let's say during December I was knitting in average every day 3 or 4 hours, because when I watch TV I knit. When I drink my first coffee of the day I knit. When I have coffee break in the afternoon, I knit. If I visit my in-laws and we talk and chat, I knit. So that means it's often a thing I do while I do something else. Yesterday I was listening to an audio play and it was so thrilling, and not audio play, audiobook, and it was so thrilling that I wasn't noticing that I'm still knitting. I was tired, but I couldn't stop listening to the audiobook, and the knitting was like on autopilot. So I think only in the evening yesterday I was knitting an hour or 1.5. So it really depends. When the mojo is strong, I would say, let's say 3 hours or 2.5 on average. Because on the weekdays it's less, on the weekends it's more. And if I don't have mojo, I don't knit anything, and that can be for 3 months in a row. The last years I have experienced it during the summer. I don't know why, because I don't have a problem knitting in the summer, but every year I have like a creative break. I think a musician would call it that way. So I can't really answer that, I'm sorry. At the moment, 3 hours. Yeah. How many years knitting and crocheting? Okay, as a German, I have learned knitting, crocheting, embroidering, weaving, sewing. I think that's it. In school. We learned that in school. There is a subject for that that is called textile, so textile. We have woodcraft one semester, and in the other semester of the school year we have textile. And oh yes, and we learn to, I don't know the English word, read the screen. You can make bracelets, friendship bracelets with that technique. That was very much fun, and I enjoyed the textile lessons so much, because if it were the first 2 lessons of the day, it was like, let's have breakfast together, and the teacher was sitting on the teacher's desk and was knitting, and we were doing bracelets, or we were knitting, or we were crocheting. So I learned that in school. So in primary school. In primary school you learn, in the most German schools, crocheting and knitting. Knitting is getting less, unfortunately, because the children are getting worse in, is it called motoric? In these fine moving processes. And I'm speaking as a teacher. So unfortunately, because they spend very much time in front of the TV, computer, tablet, phone, they do very much digitally, or very much outside, but they don't learn at home to sit still and do something fiddly. That is sad. So I learned crocheting in the primary school. Knitting 1 year after primary school, in the 5th grade. So that is a long time ago. So in 5th grade I was 11, so I'm knitting for 18 years now. Wow! I'm old. Yeah, I am knitting for 18 years now and crocheting 19 years. But I have forgotten how to crochet for many years. So I relearned crocheting. Now we have 2020, 2 years ago. Okay, so let's say crocheting 2 years and knitting 18 years. But although I have to admit, in these 18 years, I was able to knit, but I didn't do it for the most of the years. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's it. Christmas gifts, knit or crochet? Both. If it has to be a quick one, crochet is better. But some things I also just like to crochet, like cowls, for example. I really love to crochet cowls because I love the look of it. It's fast, it's pretty, it's yeah, so both. I think it's really balanced. I have given away as many crochet items as knitting items. The most challenging project I have done. The most challenging. I have knit a lace. So my first lace shawl. It was way too small. I don't know what I did wrong, but that was very challenging. I knit that when I was still a student, so a theology student, and it was my first lace ever. And it was a German instruction. Horrible. German instructions are always very complicated, very short, many abbreviations. And in I was knitting from the chart, because that is a German thing. You won't find a normal German book with written instructions. That is a very American or English speaking thing. In Germany you won't find that. That means I had to I really had to concentrate. I was using Post-its as a guide, so to see in which row of the chart I am. I was sitting in the kitchen while my boyfriend was in our room. I was only concentrating on that. And when I was done, I was very proud of me, but I realized it was too small because the cast off was too, not loose enough. And yeah, I don't know, maybe the gauge was incorrectly, but that was the most challenging project for me. And I didn't really enjoy the process because of concentrating only on that. Sometimes this can be good, but it's not what I enjoy the most. And maybe crochet-wise, the most challenging project was the baby rainbow blanket you can see in my project pages. I have given it away to friends when they had their baby. There was pretty much every row was like another stitch or so. So that was very challenging, but I enjoyed it very much because I learned a lot. Crocheting is much easier than knitting, faster than knitting, and you can correct your stitches way easier. If you have to correct something in knitting, you have to drop so many stitches or lines or rows. And in crochet, you only have this one loop and you can unravel it so easy, and you only have to pick up this one live stitch. Yeah, so that wasn't that challenging, but crochet-wise it was the most challenging. Favorite sock technique? That is interesting to talk about because that will lead us to another topic I want to talk about. Okay, my first sock I have ever knit, I was knitting very traditionally. So a 2x2 rib, stockinette leg, heel flap and gusset, and a normal toe, like decreasing, no, simple decreasing, like knit two together. So nothing fancy. Then I have learned to knit we call it in German boomerang heel. So it's simply a short row heel. So I did German short rows first because that is what you learn in Germany. And then I learned wrap and turns, and I really love wrap and turns because they are so easy. And then I have only knit wrap and turn heels all the time. The toe stayed the same, the cuff stayed the same. Sometimes I did 1x1 ribbing or a twisted rib, but mostly 2x2 ribbing. And now I'm going back to heel flap and gusset because I was knitting all the baby socks for my boyfriend's advent calendar, and I really enjoyed the process, and I like this old-fashioned look of a heel flap. And I think the fit is better. I only started to knit a short row here because it was so much faster. And it looks pretty. But the fit of a heel flap is better. Yeah. Now we come to sock knitting. I was waiting for the time to knit for myself and knit all the socks because I was missing sock knitting so much. The reason is I have finished my gift for Tommy for Christmas. I have still to weave in the ends and I have still to duplicate stitch the T, but here is the Weasley pullover. Yeah, it's a rolled collar and a rolled hem, and I have done 2x2 ribbing for the sleeves. I have done some modifications because I have decreased until here. Then I have stopped to decrease the stitches because otherwise it would be too tight for him. And then I have, so 20 centimeters without decreasing, and then I decreased dramatically, as you can see, and it looks weird when you see it like this, but when he's wearing it, it doesn't, you won't notice it. And I have decreased every second row. Here I have decreased every fourth row. And then when I had the length I wanted to have, I have decreased 20 stitches. So in one round 10 stitches, then I have knit, and then I have decreased another 10 stitches. So I had the right circumference. Maybe I could have started earlier to decrease, and then it wouldn't be necessary to do it that way. But yeah, I was knitting away, and I realized, oh my gosh, they will be too long if I do it this way. He tried it on and it fits perfectly. Yeah. And by the way, I have again crocheted together. So the pattern says you have to knit the front and the back flat. I did that. And then they tell you to close the shoulder seams and then to pick up the stitches for the sleeves, but not to close in the round. So you have to knit the sleeve attached to the body flat and then close it, and I really don't see why I should do that. So I have closed the side seams already and I have crocheted everything together, and then I have knit the sleeve in the round. Yeah. He tried it on several times during the process, so I'm sure it will fit. I still can add some length if we want to, because after washing it will grow a little bit. Mine did that too. I used the same yarn in another colorway for my Weasley sweater. And after I have finished this pullover, I knew now I can knit whatever I want. And here is, by the way, the contrast color for the tee. And I still have to find the pattern for the leather. This is from my pullover, and I have forgotten where I found this chart, so I have to look it up. Yeah, and so I was able to knit for myself because all the presents are done. Besides the things I have to do with this sweater, but I will do this on the weekend, I guess. So I have started to knit. Okay, as you know, I did the Opal subscription, and I have started this pretty yarn because it is Christmassy for me. And I am in the Facebook group from the Opal, so the Opal subscription yarn Facebook group, and they are doing so many, they knit so pretty patterned socks with self-striping yarn, so with self-patterning yarn even. And I felt inspired and I decided to do that too. So I did a 2x2 ribbing, and here you can see I did a mistake because I was casting on 60 stitches, and that made, so I had 15 stitches on every 15 on every needle, and so I wasn't paying attention, and so I have 4 stitches here and on the back side too, but I don't care. And I have knit here a cable, and this is the pattern Country Roads by Nordic Stitches Design. I have only used the chart and not the heel or the cuff or so. And I have done a heel flap in a contrasting color, a no-name white yarn I had, but it matches very good. And I did the slip stitch heel flap. I really like the look. I did this the first time. It is so pretty. Yeah, and I have closed. I have done the German call. It's called a Zwickel. You say gusset. I finished the gusset, and now I can knit the foot. And it is fun. It is pretty, and I'm looking forward to wear that. So it was so much fun. But first, before I started this sock, I also started another one. So I was going crazy to knit all the socks because I'm missing it so much, or I was missing it so much. Oh, by the way, I didn't tell you. This is the same fabric like my reading bone, and I've received it from Karina in her advent calendar. Hee. This is a Christmas bag I have made myself years ago. By the way, I have received this from a viewer and I love this. I think it's from Haya Haya, but I'm not sure. And inside is Christmas yarn. I'm still at the heel, and again I did a slip stitch heel. So here is the Christmas yarn from Buttonette. And Amy, if you're watching, I'm very happy that you started your Christmas sock with the yarn I sent you. I'm very happy. I haven't opened your yarn yet. I will open the 3 packages you have wrapped so nicely on Christmas Eve. So, slip stitch, heel, and red is always difficult to catch up with the camera. I did the, I don't know how you call this in English, this part here. And now I have to pick up the stitches. Yeah. And it is so much fun. I love sock knitting so much. I love it so much. Again, it's a no-name yarn. I always only use that for contrasting heel, cuff or toe. So we were talking about my favorite sock technique. So I don't have a favorite technique yet. It was the short row heel in the past, but I think I prefer the heel flap. And maybe it will change in the future again. These things are changing all the time, I guess. Yeah. Oh, a purchase. I have bought a neck lamp. There are several. It has different lights. Oh, I see. Oh, yes. They are the same. This I'm using all the time. And the other 2 I don't use. There are so many producer and pretty ones in pink and blue. But yeah, this was very inexpensive and the shipping was fast. So I decided to use this. And I'm using it also for reading. And you can, for reading I was laying, so I did like this. And I laid there and had this here on my chest. So it's very versatile and you can do everything with it. And it goes back into shape very easy. Yeah, I can recommend that. So I can knit in a very cozy atmosphere with candles and fairy lights, but I have enough light to knit during a movie night, for example. And this is chargeable. Yeah, and the last thing I want to talk about is a knit along. Because my goal or my wish for the next year is to knit all the socks. And I thought we could do another year-long knit along. And I want again make a sock knit along. I did this 2 years ago. It was the Socks of Stash. And now I have opened a thread, and I will open it already this year. You can post already. I think we don't have to be so strict. The rules are in the first post. There are no really rules. I would say knit socks. You can enter whips. You can chat there, you can post your yarn stash there, you can tell me what your goal is for the coming year regarding sock knitting. You can set yourself a goal like, I want to knit at least 1 pair a month. Or you can say, I want to knit as many as I can. Or I want to knit these specific patterns. It's up to you, really. But the only thing I would love to see is when you post something, it would be, if it was possible, that you make a project page for that, so everyone can click on the picture and immediately see which yarn did you use, which pattern did you use, so it's easier to find something. It's sometimes frustrating in the forums when someone is posting something and you have to ask, oh, which yarn is that, or which pattern did you use? It would be easier if you just make a project page, we can click on that, or if you link it in your post, that would be very helpful. So I will open the thread today, I think. I have called it Socks for 21 now. Maybe you can come up with a fancy name, because I don't want to call it Socks of Stash, because you don't have to knit from stash. Maybe you find a funny name, a pretty name, something for a hashtag, for example. I don't know. It would be nice. Okay. It was like a podcast, but I will insert it into Vlogmas because it's not really a podcast. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to read from you in the comments.